Hi and welcome to another Raspberry Pi Pico video for Hopper. So this is Hopper on Raspberry Pi Pico. Hopper is a modern semicolon and curly brace language that's designed for small devices. I've been doing a few more device drivers. So specifically I've been looking at these two devices from Waveshare. So this is a 1.44 inch LCD with some buttons, and a 0.96 LCD with LCD with joystick and some buttons. So there's a couple of different ways you can deal with buttons, and the one, like this joystick, is when you push it, you want it to. You can do this by polling. So just say I'm still holding the joystick to the one side. So keep going in that direction until I change. I'm trying to get it to focus as well. Anyway, you get the idea. And the other way to do it is by events. So like, for example, like a keyboard, you'd want a keyboard buffer. These are both color screens, by the way. So let me show you what these two devices are, and then I will show you the two ways that I've implemented how to deal with buttons. In both cases, these devices from Waveshare are designed to, so you slip your Raspberry Pi Pico into the back like this. And they're pretty neat little devices in that you could use them without a case like this experimentally, so I highly recommend these devices. And they're about, in the order of $10 or approximately. So this is the one. It's a smaller screen, but it's got a pretty neat little joystick. Obviously, they're just buttons. It's not resistors for the joystick. And then the other one is this one here, which has got 4 buttons on it. So I've mucked around with this with, like retro game type stuff as well. And it also, you mount the Raspberry Pi Pico on the back. I'll include links in the description to these devices. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, I just think they're good devices. Anyway, let's switch back to the code, and might as well go full screen. Here we go. So what are we looking at? So the two ways that you can look at the buttons, the one is to poll them through these getters, and that'll just tell you what the current state of the button is, so that you can say, is the joystick still pointed to the left? And you can just run around in circles and ask for these, just ask these properties to say what's the button doing right now. The other way is to attach the pins. We can put an interrupt handler on each pin, and that interrupt handler then you can then intercept the interrupt handler, which is this. So let's do this as a demo. I'll build this. I should unplug. I'm going to unplug this one and take it out just to make it simpler. I'm going to exit out of there, load that again, build that. Just want to make sure I've got the correct serial port, and then let's options here. Generate for options. You need to generate an ihex file if you want to run on the microcontroller rather than just on your Windows machine. So let's build that again. And at the bottom of the screen, it'll say that it's generated a file, and now we should have the option to launch the debugger. And it's uploaded it to my device, and if I F5, it should run it, and maybe we'll see something happen. Oops, it should show you what's happened there. So it blanked the screen out, and it's running in the debugger. And I've programmed these buttons to just change the colors, as you can see from the screen over here. So the A and B buttons, A should be red, and B should be green. And then for the joystick, I've done a few more colors. So we've got a blue to the left. Let's see if that's happening. Blue to the left, yeah. Dusty teal to the right, whatever that is. It's not quite blue, it's just a different shade. Not very visible on this screen. And then Up is avocado, so that should be a green. And down is denim, which is another blue. So if we keep flipping through, then we see that. And I think I made the center one black, so that clears the screen, yes. And then we've got these ones here. So because it's using the interrupt handler, these are very similar to how you would have keys in a keyboard buffer. So they get queued up as like events. So if you press them in quick succession, if we run around in circles here, it'll catch them all. It won't miss any events. Unlike when I was holding it down for that snake-like game, in which case it's just state. Yeah, and you can see over here I'm also printing out which one's being hit as we go in my little redraw function. Anyway, in both cases, this is a new driver. Let's Control C out of that, and oh, that's a good idea. We'll put a breakpoint in here, and let's F5 again. So I'm running in the debugger again. I've got a breakpoint in the interrupt handler, and if I press a button, it stops on the breakpoint and tells me pin 15. Well, we can't really see that behind this. Let's fix that quickly. So we can move that out the way, put it up there somewhere. There we go. So on the right here we can see pin 15 is what I clicked on. And pin 15 is the A button, which means it should go red. So if I press F5, we should see it go red. So let's press F5, there we go, it's gone red. Anyway, so as you can see, this interrupt service routine works perfectly fine in the debugger. So let's go back to where I was going to go with this. Control C, Alt F4. The initialization of this device, this Waveshare Pico 0.96 inch display, it's a new driver chip that I hadn't supported before, which is the 7735. And I've got two different drivers for it, one for the 0.96 version and one for the 1.44 inch version. So that's the one that had the Mandelbrot on it at the beginning of this demonstration. And like the other SPI drivers, display drivers, you just give the resolution and you tell it which pins to use for SPI. And if it's got a hardware reset, you give the hardware reset pin. So, and all this initialization is also part of the little driver for this device. But you've got all the source code and you can see how it works, and I've commented it. Whereas when you're using it, you just use a one-liner here to initialize it, and I do all that stuff, and you just provide a button delegate. So it's a callback function for your buttons. Anyway, a little bit of progress, some new devices. Two ways of using buttons, one by polling and one by interrupts/events. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to your comments.